I always thought my dad was the perfect man. Not just because he was my father, but because to the entire city he was a hero. Officer Daniel Harris, decorated, respected, feared by criminals, loved by the community. Kids in our neighborhood wore plastic badges and pretended to be him. Teachers invited him to speak at schools about courage and doing the right thing. And me, I was proud. I'd walk beside him during community events, holding his hand, and strangers would smile at me like I was the luckiest kid alive. And I believed I was. That belief shattered on a rainy Thursday night when I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. It started with a phone call. I was in the living room doing homework when Dad's phone buzzed. He was in the shower, so I glanced at the screen. The name read, Unknown. I don't know why, but something about it made my stomach twist. My dad didn't get unknown calls, at least, not on his personal phone. I ignored it at first, but it rang again, and again. When Dad came out, still drying his hair, I told him someone kept calling. His eyes, usually warm, went cold instantly. "Don't ever answer my phone, Liam," he said sharply. Then, without even putting on a shirt, he grabbed his jacket, muttered something about police business, and left. That night, he didn't come home. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of the front door closing. Dad walked in looking exhausted, smelling faintly of cigarette smoke, even though he'd quit years ago. "You didn't sleep?" I asked. "Paperwork," he replied flatly, heading straight to his room. Something in my gut told me he was lying. For the next week, I noticed changes. Dad was leaving the house late at night, coming back before sunrise. He avoided eye contact at breakfast. His phone never left his pocket. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I waited until he left, then followed him. It was raining again, the streets shining under the glow of streetlights. I kept my hood up, staying far enough behind so he wouldn't see me. He drove to the outskirts of the city, an area I knew was bad news. Old warehouses, abandoned buildings, the kind of place Dad used to warn me about. His car stopped near a dimly lit alley. I hid behind a dumpster and watched as he stepped out. And then my heart nearly stopped. A tall man in a leather jacket walked up. I recognized him instantly from the news. His name was Marco Velez, the leader of one of the most dangerous gangs in the city. Dad had arrested him 2 years ago. What was he doing here with my father? They shook hands. Marco handed Dad a thick envelope. Dad didn't even hesitate. He took it and slipped it into his jacket. I stumbled backward, my breath fogging in the cold air. This couldn't be happening. My dad, the hero cop, was taking money from a criminal. Before I could process it, Dad's head snapped in my direction. I ducked behind the dumpster, praying he hadn't seen me. After a tense minute, I heard car doors slam and engines start. When I peeked out, both cars were gone. Back home, I couldn't sleep. My mind was spinning with questions. Was Dad being blackmailed? Was he undercover, or was he dirty? The next morning, I tried to act normal. "Where were you last night?" I asked casually. He didn't look up from his coffee. "Working." "Near the docks?" I pressed. His eyes met mine. Cold, sharp, almost warning me. "Drop it, Liam." Over the next few days, the guilt of knowing something like this started eating me alive. I thought about telling Mom, but she'd left when I was 10. I thought about calling the police, but my dad was the police. So I decided to gather proof. A week later, Dad left again around midnight. This time, I followed in my friend Jake's car so Dad wouldn't recognize mine. We parked far away and moved on foot. Through the rain, we spotted him at the same warehouse. But this time, it wasn't just Marco. There were at least 6 men, all dangerous-looking, unloading crates from a truck. Dad stood there, watching. Occasionally, he'd check something on a clipboard. "What the hell is this?" Jake whispered. I didn't answer. My hands were shaking too much. Suddenly, shouting erupted. A man pointed toward us. "They saw us," Jake yelled. We ran hard through the alleyways. I could hear footsteps pounding behind us. Then a voice. "Liam, stop." It was my dad. We froze. His face was a mix of fury and panic. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. I followed you, I stammered. I saw you with Marco. I saw the money. What are you doing, Dad? For a moment, I saw something in his eyes: regret. Fear. Then it was gone. You don't understand, he said. Go home, now. Forget what you saw. But I couldn't. Because the next day, I woke up to news reports. Warehouse fire kills 3 arson suspected. The warehouse we'd seen. No arrests were made, no suspects named. But deep down, I knew. My dad was involved. And now, I wasn't just scared for him. I was scared of him. Cliffhanger to part 2. The night after the fire, I found a small flash drive hidden in the lining of Dad's jacket. I didn't know it yet. But what was on that drive would destroy everything I thought I knew about him and put my life in danger. The next few days felt like I was walking through a minefield. Every sound made me flinch. Every knock on the door made my stomach twist. I knew it was only a matter of time before things got worse. And then, it did. It was Friday night. My mom was working late, and I was home alone, trying to distract myself by watching TV. The sound of tires screeching outside made me jump. I peeked through the curtains and froze. A black SUV pulled up in front of our house. 2 men stepped out, both wearing dark jackets and baseball caps. Something deep inside me screamed danger. I didn't even think. I bolted for the back door, but before I could reach it, the front door burst open. Police, don't move, one of the men shouted. But their badges were wrong. I'd seen police badges before. These were fake. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might break my ribs. What do you want? I yelled, backing away. Where's your mom? One of them demanded. His voice was calm. Too calm. She's not here, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. They exchanged a glance, the kind of look that said, we've got time. That's when I grabbed the only thing near me, a heavy lamp, and swung it toward the taller man. It connected with his shoulder, and he cursed, stumbling back. Run, kid, the other one shouted, but not in a protective way. More like, run so I can chase you. I didn't wait to find out which. I darted out the back door, sprinting into the alley behind our house. The night air was cold and sharp, burning my lungs as I ran. I didn't dare look back. I just kept moving until I reached the main road, where streetlights and people made me feel a little less invisible. I pulled up my phone and dialed the only number I could think of. Detective Harris. Slow down, he said after I blurted out everything in one breath. Where are you right now? I gave him the cross street, and within minutes, a patrol car pulled up. The relief I felt seeing real officers was almost enough to make me cry. Almost. Back at the station, Detective Harris looked serious, more serious than I'd ever seen him. Those men weren't just random, he said. They were looking for something, or someone. You think they're connected to my mom's past? I asked, my voice shaking. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he slid a file across the desk toward me. Your mom was working undercover for us 3 years ago. She infiltrated a crew that was smuggling high-value electronics. We shut them down. But not all of them got caught. The pieces clicked together like a horrible puzzle. You think they're coming after her? And me? I think, he said slowly, they already are. From that night on, Harris assigned an unmarked car to watch our house. But I could tell my mom was getting nervous. She started making secret phone calls in the middle of the night. She kept a packed bag in her closet. One evening, I caught her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at an old photograph. It was of her, younger, standing next to a man I didn't recognize. He was smiling, but she wasn't. Who is that? I asked. Her eyes snapped up, and for a moment I thought she might lie. But then she sighed. That's Marcus. He was my partner. Not the police kind. The kind I wish I could forget. It turned out Marcus wasn't just a boyfriend. He was the leader of the smuggling crew, and when my mom, she had to betray him. They told me he got 20 years, she whispered, but if he's out early, he won't forgive me. The next few days blurred into one long stretch of fear. The unmarked car kept watch, but every time I walked home from school, I felt eyes on me. Then came the night that changed everything. It was raining one of those heavy, endless downpours. I was in my room trying to finish homework when I heard glass shatter downstairs. My first thought was that the wind had blown something over. My second thought was, we don't have windows that low to the ground. I crept to the top of the stairs. And there he was, Marcus. I recognized him instantly from the photo older now, rougher but the same eyes. Cold, calculating. "Where's your mother?" he asked, like it was the most normal question in the world. I couldn't move. My legs felt like stone. "Don't make this harder than it has to be, kid," he said, stepping closer. That snapped something inside me. I turned and ran back to my room, slamming the door and shoving my dresser in front of it. My hands shook as I dialed Detective Harris. "He's here. Marcus is here," I whispered. "Stay where you are," Harris ordered. "We're on our way." But the door frame cracked as Marcus shoved against it. My dresser slid a few inches. I knew it was only a matter of time before he broke through. I spotted the fire escape outside my window and climbed out, the rain soaking me instantly. My bare feet slipped on the metal, but I kept going, heart hammering. So, by the time I reached the street, flashing lights were already pulling up. Marcus bolted in the opposite direction, but 2 officers tackled him before he could get far. I stood there, shivering, watching as they cuffed him. Later, Harris told me Marcus had been released on a technicality, a paperwork error that shouldn't have happened. "He's going away for good this time," he promised. When my mom came home, she hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "I'm sorry," she whispered over and over. Things slowly went back to normal after that. The unmarked cars stopped parking outside. I could walk to school without feeling like a target. But I'll never forget the way it felt, knowing someone could be watching. And I'll never forget what Harris told me before I left the station that night. Sometimes, the people you think you've left behind aren't as far behind as you hope.